But then I want to move on and talk about a more serious topic. The back and forth between Sony and Microsoft has been ongoing for a while now, as pressure is mounting on PlayStation with these major acquisitions that Xbox is doing. As such, some serious claims are being made. Coming to us from The Verge, Microsoft claims that Sony pays for blocking rights to keep games off of Xbox Game Pass. Now, I don't think that this story is as black and white as it might look, but it is still interesting nonetheless. They start off here saying Microsoft has claimed Sony pays for blocking rights to stop developers from adding their content to Xbox Game Pass. The explosive claims are part of documents filed with Brazil's national competition regulator and part of a review of Microsoft's acquisition of Activision Blizzard. Microsoft's ability to continue expanding Game Pass have been hampered by Sony's desire to inhabit such growth, claims Microsoft in an August 9 filing to the Administrative Council of Economic Defense as translated from Portuguese. Sony pays for blocking rights to prevent developers from adding content to Xbox Game Pass and other competing subscription services. Now, it should be noted that paying for exclusivity is not that uncommon. Although Xbox is making this claim, Sony could also just be paying for games to be exclusive to their platform instead of Game Pass. It is not that uncommon. Although I'm not a fan of these type of practices, it is something that all of them engage in, and this is also something that The Verge point out themselves. Does this mean Sony is evil and Microsoft is casually out here revealing some drastically business practices? The reality is likely a little more complicated on both sides. Sony could simply be paying for exclusive rights for its own streaming services, or it may have clauses in some publishing contracts that prevent some games it publishes from being published on rival subscription services. It is not clear exactly what Microsoft is referring to here, but contracts from publishing games can be complex, particularly when rights of streaming and subscription services are involved. Documents filed in the Epic vs Apple trial last year revealed that Microsoft had been considering lowering the revenue split for PC games in exchange for the grant of streaming rights to Microsoft. Now, it seems that there is a bit of back and forth between these two companies. A few weeks ago, we heard that Sony has been trying to block the Activision Blizzard acquisition, or at least speaking out against it by claiming that titles from Activision like Call of Duty are something that cannot be replicated and therefore it is anti-consumer for Xbox to own it. More documents from Brazilian CADE have been analyzed by Xbox and PlayStation fans over the past week, with posters on Reset Era highlighting the juicy parts. The regulator have been asking Sony and other Microsoft rivals about the Activision Blizzard acquisition. Sony previously responded to Brazil's regulator claiming that it could be difficult for other developers to create a franchise that rival Activision's Call of Duty and that it stands out as a gaming category on its own. Naturally, Microsoft disagrees, and Ubisoft, Riot Games, Bungie, Namco and Google have all highlighted competition to Call of Duty in the form of Apex Legends, Battlefield, PUBG and more. Now, it definitely seems that there is a bit of worry from Sony here and what it could mean for them. It is clear that Microsoft means business here and the whole gaming world is watching. Microsoft did have a few more things to say though. In the article they say here, considering that exclusivity strategies has been at the core of Sony's strategy to strengthen its presence in the gaming industry and that Sony is the leader in the distribution of digital games, Sony's concern with possible exclusivity of Activision content is incoherent to say the least, Microsoft said. Indeed, Microsoft's ability to continue expanding Game Pass has been obstructed by Sony's desire to inhabit such growth. Sony pays for blocking rights to prevent developers from adding content to Game Pass and other competing subscription services. Sony does not want attractive subscription services to threaten its dominance in the digital distribution market for consoles consoles, Microsoft continues in the filing. In other words, Sony rails against the introduction of new monetization models capable of challenging its own business model. And to sum that up, Microsoft is suggesting here that Sony has enjoyed market dominance following their own business model of selling consoles and then making exclusive AAA games that sell at $60 each. It has been an incredible successful model for them, but all of that can now be in trouble, with Microsoft buying big studios and bringing their content to Xbox Game Pass, even if it is not exclusive, can threaten Sony's traditional model that they have been using for years. Sony has been paying for exclusive rights for many years now, so people do think though that it is a little bit hypocritical of them to say all of these things. It also sounds that Sony might not be that worried about anti-competitiveness, but rather just what it means for their own bottom line, which is completely understandable. They work really hard for many years to establish themselves, and I'm sure they don't want things to change up now. As for me, I'm obviously not a fan of exclusivity. I've never celebrated gamers not having access to games, and I never understand others who would. If you are a fan of gaming, you would want as many people as possible to play all of these great games, and I do hope that Xbox honors the agreement and continues to make Call of Duty multi-platform just like they did with Minecraft. I also hope that they do the same with the other games as well. I was even hoping that Starfield would be multi-platform, but with that said though, I'm also not going to cry myself to sleep over it. As a person who has missed out on lots of PlayStation games since I only have an Xbox, I can understand the frustration. I really wanted to play God of War, Last of Us, and I was super hyped for Final Fantasy VII Remake until I heard that Sony was paying for the game to be exclusive. In those cases, I had to put on my big boy pants and get over it, and unfortunately those who only have a PlayStation and not Xbox will have to do the same. This whole deal with Activision Blizzard is all about the vision that Xbox has for the future of gaming. It is no secret that Xbox right now is going very hard when it comes to Xbox Game Pass. By buying companies like Activision and Bethesda, they can ensure that they have first party content. The problem that has always been there when it comes to these type of services and licensing is that sometimes publishers can pull their rights. Since Xbox calls itself the Netflix of gaming, we can use them as a pretty good example. There has been a time when the content lineup for Netflix has been much stronger. They had a bunch of awesome licenses and then a bunch of other players entered the game. Amazon, Hulu, Disney, HBO, Paramount and plenty more. Licenses then got pulled to go over to competing platforms, and just like that you are left with nothing. That is a very good reason why Netflix is now focusing on developing its own content, and Xbox is doing the same. They do not want to rely on third-party deals because they know that publishers like EA and Ubisoft are also competing in the same space and can at any time pull their games. By buying studios like Blizzard and Bethesda, they can ensure that those licenses never get pulled. Xbox is also heavily invested in cloud gaming. Although they might say that they have no plans to replace consoles, we both know that this is going to come sooner rather than later. Cloud gaming for Xbox is directly linked to Xbox Game Pass, and that is the whole point. In order to access cloud gaming, you need Xbox Game Pass Ultimate. As Xbox expands its service, we will see Game Pass expand with it. A big driving force behind this is mobile. I read somewhere that a massive portion of Blizzard's sales come from mobile, and they are not the only ones. Call of Duty, Minecraft, Fortnite and plenty of others has made that shift. Xbox is heavily invested in cloud gaming and also mobile, and once their digital Xbox app or virtual console is up, we will see Game Pass expand heavily. The mobile market is massive, not just in terms of people but also in terms of revenue. Getting these people to pay $15 for a service like Game Pass is not going to be be that hard. Another thing that I am finding very interesting here, and I know that I'm going a little bit off topic, is how the console landscape will look under cloud gaming, especially with what Xbox is doing. At this point, we know that a massive part of the gaming industry is relying on Xbox and PlayStation. Ubisoft, Rockstar, and whoever there is need a platform to sell their games. Their success is directly linked to these consoles. Although gaming existed before Xbox and PlayStation and the PC market is huge, there is no denying that Xbox and PlayStation are responsible for a big portion of that. If Xbox, who probably controls, I would say, 50% of the market, decides to switch over to cloud gaming, normal developers will be forced to switch over with them and optimize their games accordingly. If they don't, they will lose out. Now, you can argue, and so will Xbox, but with the way that they are buying studios and making money, soon it will not even matter anymore. I think we will see these publishers following them into cloud gaming optimization soon.